Have you ever wondered how to actually get good at fingerstyle guitar? Many players start learning, but if they don't take the right steps, then they give up quickly. They feel like fingerstyle is just too complicated, or they don't have the natural talent required. But this can be easily fixed when you know how. And in my opinion, fingerstyle guitar is one of the most rewarding ways to play, especially alone. And most of the time, when we're playing guitar, we're playing alone. And if you look at players like Emmanuel, Chet Atkins, or Merle Travis, it was through fingerstyle that they're able to sound like a full band all by themselves. And they were playing multiple parts and getting it all going, but you have to break it down step by step and you gotta go beat by beat. So in this video, I wanna share with you 7 mistakes beginner fingerstyle players make, starting with playing patterns that are way too complicated. You know, I live in Los Angeles and there's not a lot of fingerstyle guitar players here. Surprisingly, I know there's a lot of great session musicians here, but most of them play with a pick, and there's more finger pickers, I think, in places like Kentucky and Nashville. Now, many players go to their guitar teacher, and if they don't play fingerstyle, they'll often, make things up. Like if a student says, hey, can you teach me fingerstyle? They'll say, yeah, sure. And then they'll say, okay, and they'll have them start with these patterns that are like crazy complicated. Like, oh, you got to use your thumb, index, middle, ring, and that's like the first pattern they're learning. This is a mistake. You want to start very simple, and these are things that I do with my students, is I start with the most basic patterns so that you see how it works step by step. The second big mistake I see is not having a system or knowing how to deal with nails versus no nails. If you're like me, when my fingernails get beyond 2 to 3 millimeters, they start tearing on anything I touch, let alone the guitar strings. And there's so much to consider, whether you're playing an acoustic steel string, whether you're playing an electric, and how you're going to navigate all that, whether you're using a thumb pick or finger picks. And so if you don't have a way to work all this out, then you're going to waffle and you're going to practice a little one way and then change, and it's just not going to make progress as fast if you just get in the groove and do it right from the beginning. Mistake number 3 is thinking that fingerstyle is only for acoustic guitar or folksy campfire music. Now, if you're a singer-songwriter, playing fingerstyle is one of the best ways to accompany yourself, because again, you can get such a full sounding accompaniment, and you can hear this with players like James Taylor and Paul Simon and great singer-songwriter fingerpickers. But there's a whole other side of fingerstyle guitar where you can play on an electric guitar, and some of the greatest guitar tones and epic sounds that have ever been created and recorded were done with an electric guitar played without a pick. And that's how I think about fingerstyle. It's not using a pick. You can use a thumb pick, but you're not going to use a typical flat pick. So I don't necessarily think of hybrid picking as being full-blown fingerstyle. In fact, if you try and hybrid pick fingerstyle songs, you're going to run into a lot of problems. So when players put themselves in this limited box, then they're going to be held back and they'll never understand the joy of playing fingerstyle on an electric guitar. Now, if you've struggled to play finger picking guitar and get these digits moving together and developing independence, then I want to give you a gift. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/fingerstylejumpstart, and you can grab 5 powerful exercises I've put together that are guaranteed to whip your finger picking hand in shape in record time. And it's completely for free. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/fingerstylejumpstart and grab that now. Number 4 is following fingerstyle methods that aren't really step by step. And I figured this out after I started learning fingerstyle, and I was actually a guitar teacher already. And what I realized is that teaching fingerstyle guitar is like teaching guitar twice. You have to do twice as much work because you have your fretting hand going down and making sure you're playing the right notes and strings. Now, if you have a flat pick, then it's usually a down or an up, and then you just play the string. But with fingerstyle, you've got, okay, well, does my thumb play the string? Does my index play the string? What finger is playing the string and what's doing what? And then how are the rhythms? And you don't want to just wing it with just whatever you want, because again, that's going to be practicing a little bit one way, then practicing a little bit another way, and you're not going to move forward as fast. So if you don't have a step-by-step system to work all this out, then you're going to get stuck. Next up, mistake number 5 is thinking classical guitar is the answer. And this is terrible advice that I see out there all the time. Players say, I want to learn fingerstyle guitar. Someone says, well, learn classical. Well, if you want to play classical guitar, then learn classical. Now, if you want to play like Tommy Emmanuel, Merle Travis, or Mark Knopfler, then learning classical is actually going to hurt you, because the way that they play and the way the wrist angle sits and how you approach things is completely different. And so if you work this out for classical, you're going to have to undo those techniques or be able to switch. You're going to have to learn both when you try to play fingerstyle. Fingerstyle is its own thing, but people ignorantly lump them together because, oh, well, you're not playing with a pick, so it must be fingerstyle. So classical is not the answer, unless, of course, you want to play classical. And I happen to love classical music. I think it's beautiful, and I spent actually a few years, playing etudes, the Carcasse etudes, and learning Bach songs and just tons of classical compositions, and it's beautiful. But again, I had to undo all that when I went to play fingerstyle in more the roots and traditional way of playing. Number 6, and I touched on this earlier, but this is thinking that hybrid picking is a solution. Now, hybrid picking has its place, and what that is using a flat pick and then bringing in your other fingers. And I actually started for 20 years, I played with a flat pick, and I got pretty good with a flat pick, and then I started bringing in my other fingers, and then I started getting into people like Chet Atkins and these great fingerstyle players. And I just thought, well, I'm just gonna tough it out, and I'm gonna learn to play all this with a flat pick. I'll just power through, and boy, was that wrong. That was horrible, and I ended up just completely hitting a wall and realized that, when you do that, you're actually minus a finger. And so again, hybrid picking has its place. If you want to play, country electric guitar and it's more soloing and you're using hybrid picking like that, great. I do that all the time. But to play fingerstyle and fingerstyle tunes, I've never heard anyone nail it and have the feel right and do it hybrid picking. The closest I've ever heard someone get is Danny Gatton, but even that, it doesn't sound like Chet Atkins. It doesn't groove the same way, and there's just certain things you can't do, and so you're gonna get stuck if you think that hybrid picking is the solution. And mistake number 7, which is probably the most deadliest one, is thinking that fingerstyle is about natural talent or having some sort of magical brain chemistry that allows you to play with this independence. It's actually not true. Everyone that I've ever taught, and myself included, who has been able to play fingerstyle songs, they all started in the same spot. And if you think about when we use our hands, we turn a doorknob, when we pick up a cup to drink, we're always doing this sort of like clamping motion, but in fingerstyle, you have to learn to train these fingers. And so you have to do it step by step, and you have to know what to do. And if you try and put it all together at once without the proper foundations, it's all just going to fall apart. And that's where immediately students go, oh, well, like, yeah, adding that independence or doing that, like, no, I don't have the natural talent, or I don't have the brain chemistry for that. It's actually a myth. It just means that you're not doing things in the right order. Fingerstyle guitar is about training tiny motor skills in your fingers, and I've never met anyone who had it from the beginning. So it's simply just a matter of practicing right or practicing wrong. So those are 7 mistakes beginner fingerstyle players make. If you'd like to improve in this style and develop independence for Travis picking and playing all your favorite fingerstyle songs, then go to johnmcclennan.com/fingerstylejumpstart and grab my free fingerpicking PDF. This is going to show you 5 powerful exercises Guaranteed to whip your fingerpicking hand in shape in record time, and it's completely for free. Just go to johnmclennan.com/fingerstylejumpstart and grab that now as my gift to you. When I decided to learn fingerpicking, it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my guitar playing journey. So I would encourage you to give it a try, and if you enjoyed this video, you might like this fingerstyle video next.